Is it recording?
Yes, it is.
Oh.
Yeah, it's recording. Okay.
Wait, am I looking at you?
I don't know. You don't have to look at me. Well, yeah, I don't know.
I don't want to look at the camera.
Like I said, it's just a normal conversation. Don't focus on that camera or anything.
I'm not.
But anyways, all right. So this is the first episode of the Uncommons podcast. Woo! So excited. This has been kind of the new thing that I've been working on. Maybe like a few weeks only.
Weeks?
No, more than a few weeks.
Like month or so.
Maybe maybe it was. The idea came up maybe about a month ago, but it's been a few weeks from the time of like, hey, let's start it, to like today and actually recording the first video.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, so I'm excited. The first guest is my wonderful girlfriend, Daphne K. Miller.
Oh my god.
Gotta throw in the last name or the middle name for the culture, you know.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so we have a few things that we're gonna talk about today. Kind of the whole purpose of this podcast is getting to know the guest a little bit more, and it's interesting. It's funny having my girlfriend, having you as the first person on my podcast, because I feel like we don't really have conversations like these where you like sit down and you really we do, but I guess not really in this kind of format, you know.
I think it just happens.
Yeah, it happens in like little chunks.
Yeah, like we've had what we're about to talk about, we've had conversations about before.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. In the format, it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I guess we're gonna talk. The whole purpose of this podcast, again, I kind of went backwards, but the whole purpose of this podcast is to kind of get to know you a little bit more and what you're interested in, what you kind of like want to share, like your story that you're excited to tell people, and you're interested in talking about. So yeah. So today we're going to be talking mostly a little bit about your journey in psychology. Can you share a little bit about what you do, like your job description, and we'll start off with that first.
Okay. Well, I'm a mental health technician at a residential treatment center for adolescents and teenagers, and basically the population there is just kids that are either coming out of like inpatient or just need like a higher level of care before going back into the real world and living back at home with their families. A lot of these kids have either like substance use or self-harm or like suicide risk or like suicide attempts in the past, and they're basically just going through a treatment center to kind of set them up to deal with life back in the real world.
Yeah. So I remember you said before that the company that you work for, is it a company?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the company that you work for has different locations and different houses that specify in different traumas, right? Would be the right word?
Yeah, so the one that I'm at is like just the mental health side, but there's also like, it used to be a substance use facility and then it turned into just mental health, and then there's still like eating disorder facilities scattered around.
Yeah. So you said yours is mainly in mental health?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So how did you, I don't know, how should we do this? Like, is it, how did you first get interested in psychology? Probably, yeah. How did you first get interested in psychology before, like, how did you kind of get the job? But, like, why psychology is basically the question.
Okay. This is actually a really funny story. It's really not funny. It's just stupid. Okay, so my sister actually, when she went to college, she, I think, dabbled in psychology, but to my knowledge, she just changed her mind because she didn't want to do the biology course, like, as a requirement.
Just the one class?
The one class. She just could not do science. I don't know. That's why she became business major.
Business majors, that's a different story. I think, just kind of off topic, business majors, man. I feel like, I don't know, I've never met anybody in the business major that is like, that wants to do business. I feel like a lot of people...
No, it's, okay, hot take, it's a cop-out.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Like,
no, that's what I'm saying.
Major.
That's what I'm saying. I just feel like it's just the major that a lot of people take to, like, I don't know what to do, but I don't want to be undeclared, so I'm going to take, like, comm, or I'm going to take business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, not everyone. Like, there is people that take it, of course. Like, that goes with any field. Like, you kind of just take it because it sounds interesting, and, like, maybe you'll go somewhere with it. I don't know. Yeah. Business is, like, super applicable, though.
Yeah, but then that's what I'm saying. It is applicable. Like, everybody says, oh, it's applicable on paper, like on your resume, it looks good, business management, whatever. But then if you're in the major because you don't know what else to do, I don't think you're like trying to learn it. So I feel like by the time you graduate, a lot of the stuff that would have been applicable, you didn't really like take it and learn. But anyways, that was super off topic.
That's just you though. Like,
yeah, that's just me. I was a terrible student. I was a super terrible student. Sorry, mom and dad. I didn't really pay attention too much in school. I really just skated by. And I know it's funny because one of my favorite classes was, I don't know if I told you this, one of my favorite classes was personal finance. Because that was like the actual class where like he taught, oh, this is how you budget your money. This is like the importance of savings. This is like investments and Roth, 401k, that kind of stuff. Like stuff that you will actually like apply. Like, you know, mandatory classes in business was like accounting. But like if I'm not trying to be an accountant, it's not that important to know like how to do a balance sheet. I mean, I guess in some times like it is, but yeah, anyways, that was just me. I was just a bad student and I didn't really like learn a lot of stuff. But
I was gonna say.
But anyways, back to your whole thing. So you learned from your sister, or like you followed your sister because she did a little bit in psychology, didn't want to do biology, so she went to business, and then
I forgot where we were at. Yeah, basically backstory. It was just me and my sister for a long time, and we got like stepbrothers and stuff. But for the most part, it was just me and my sister, my older sister, and I always wanted to do everything that she did, like all sports, all like activities, whatever. Like I wanted to do it, if not better. So psychology, I saw when I was in high school, she was in college. I saw she was kind of dabbling in it. I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. So I took like AP Psych in high school and I really loved it. Like my teacher was super cool and it was just super like, I don't know, interesting. And then I took like a psych story class and it was just like fiction writing or I don't know, it was like some sort of English class about psychology. And I actually like, I think I was the only one in there that actually cared that it was psychology focused. Like, I don't know. No one else, it just seemed like an easy class, but I was actually genuinely interested in what we were, like, writing about, learning about, whatever. So when I got to college, I went in undeclared, and then eventually went into psych because I was like, oh, let me just stick with what I know is interesting, because business, I can't do money. Like, I hate talking about money. I hate talking about, like, accounting, management. It just sounds boring to me. And I honestly didn't know what other majors there were in college. Like, I went to a college prep school, but other than, like, applying for schools and, like, helping you look at schools, like, I didn't really know much about college. Like, I didn't know what majors I could have taken. Like, I think I also wanted to be, like, a criminal...
Oh, yeah, I remember a criminal justice major. I remember you talking about that early on.
Yeah, because I was watching shows like... What show was it?
I remember you would always watch those, I feel like a lot of girls are guilty of this, of watching those, like, true crime podcasts or true crime...
I was watching that this morning.
Yeah, like, those true crime stuff. It's interesting. I find it interesting, too, but it's just funny that, like, you'd be doing your hair, getting ready to go someplace. Yeah, and then you're just like, and then the man stabbed the woman in the face 47 times, and you're like doing your lashes, and it's like, what the heck?
No, I remember I used to watch those, and the girl that I watch, I can say her name, Bailey Sarian. I love Bailey Sarian and her Murder Mystery Makeup Mondays. It would put me to sleep.
Put you to sleep? It's so weird that you say that because it's so common. Like my mom, she'll fall asleep watching like crime documentaries too, and it's like the same thing. Like it's just so, it's crazy because I've talked about this with my dad because my dad finds it also weird that my mom can go to sleep that way. Of like, how do you go to sleep and be at peace and like sleep and hear that kind of like that kind of stuff.
Sorry, it's not funny.
It's not funny.
Yeah.
Not funny, but it's I don't know why it's like a common thing with girls. You think psychology major, master, whatever, like you think that there's some kind of like reasoning?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I don't know what it is. It wasn't even, let me clarify. It wasn't the stories that would put me to sleep, and it wasn't like I was bored or anything. It was just like the voice that was soothing to me, like the storytelling. And like
listen to an audiobook.
It's not the same. But like when people are telling like true crime or like they're very intense. Like it's a very, and it's like
and that's what puts you to sleep, the intenseness.
Because their voices are so serious. Anyways, what were we talking about? Okay. So I like got into like criminal justice or whatever. Oh, I forget what show I was watching, but it was like they had a it's like criminal justice and psychology put together. Like you go to crime scenes and like, or you talk to criminals and like figure out like, oh, why did they do the things they did? Where did it come from? What trauma? Whatever.
So would you say that it's like similar to what's that one show that I binged really hard?
Criminal Minds?
No. Is that the one with
a super long one that you never finished?
No, I finished it.
No.
Well, because it went up to like season 13 or 14.
Yeah.
And then like season 15, 16 wasn't on the streaming service that I watched it. But Criminal Minds, right? That was the one with the nerdy guy that everybody likes? Yeah. It's so would you say that the show that you were watching and the reason why you got into psychology was kind of based off of that? Like shows where it's like, oh, there's a murder, but then they look back at like, oh, they murdered because they have this like past history with their mom. Or
yeah. So I was like, oh, let me dabble in that. So I took like an intro to criminal justice class in like my freshman year, second semester or something. I don't know. And I think like the first question she asked is like the icebreaker is like, oh, what do you want to do with your criminal justice major, whatever. And some people were saying like, oh, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be this and this. And then there was some of us in the class that were like, oh, I want to be like a criminal psychologist or something like that. And basically the professor was like, bro, if you got that from a show or something, that is not a real position.
I was low-key heartbroken when I found out that criminal, that being, what is their job in the show? Do you remember?
What?
That their job in the show, there was like a whole department that they had in the show.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't watch that.
Well, I was heartbroken when I found out that wasn't real. Because I also thought that was super cool.
Yeah,
but
it is cool.
It's not real, though.
It's not real.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, so that's why I was like, okay, criminal justice isn't for me. Like, I finished the class, but I was like, okay, law is not my favorite. And, like, going through justice system, stuff like that, not my favorite. And then I think that's when I was like, whatever, I'll just do psychology. And Lilia, like, kind of my sister talked me out of it, ish, just by saying, like, oh, like, you have to take biology classes, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, whatever. And I just did it. I hated biology, but it's fine. And then, yeah, just the more classes I took, like, the more I kind of went into, like, I want to work with, like, I think I took a child development and adolescence class, and I really liked that, like, those developmental years and whatever. And then I had, like, my internship my last semester of college, and it was working with, like, it's, like, at-risk youth, but they called them at-promise youth as, like, a little bit more sensitive of a title.
A little bit more hopeful.
Yeah.
You have promise in you.
Yeah. But, like, working with those kids, I was like, okay, yeah. Like, I was so scared of working with high schoolers and, like, teenagers. Because I knew myself as a high schooler and teenager, and I knew my classmates. And I was like, I cannot work with people like that. But, I don't know. I think that kind of just showed me that kind of is my calling. Like, I don't want to work with kids because then I have to dumb it down a little bit and, like, play little games here and there, and I'm good with babies. I'm not good with toddlers.
Yeah, that's something that we always talked about. It's a little bit different. Like, I've never really been a baby person. I know everybody loves babies, and I don't hate babies. I'm not a baby hater. Babies are cute and stuff and all, but I appreciate the comprehension of a toddler.
See, and I don't, because it's not
enough comprehension. Yeah.
It sounds so messed up.
See, but then, so the reason why, okay, so there's babies, people love babies, right? And then I like toddlers, like we're talking about developmental years. I appreciate toddlers, and then there's like kids, which you like getting into like the preteen. That's kind of like your realm of focus.
Yeah.
And the reason why I appreciate toddlers more is because once you get into that like kid preteen age, they start to form their own personality, which is like cool and all. But then that's when they like, I don't know, that's when they're like a little bit either like super sheltered in, and they don't really like to talk, and they're shy, or like they're knuckleheads and they're all over the place, and they're like sassy and stuff.
You versus Bella versus Gab.
The three. That's what I'm saying. They're like when you reach that age of like preteen, there's like a lot going on, and then they're like own person. But like when they're a toddler, they're still kind of fun, but like they understand you enough to where it's not like and then they just cry.
Yeah, like, don't get me wrong, I love playing with toddlers or whatever, but like to work with them in mental health, like that just seems. Oh, I guess another backstory. That just seems like kind of tough, just for my personality. Like I'm not good with the little like customer service voice. Like I used to work at Bath and Body Works, and I like tried so hard to switch that customer service voice off because I hated it. And like my voice now, I think is pretty like low compared to regular girls. I get whatever. Anyways, and I guess another backstory is like my mom put us in therapy like after our parents' divorce, and all I remember from that is the lady like playing card games with us, and I was like, what? Like looking back at it, looking back at it, I'm like, what was that for? Like I'm sure it was a little bit of like play therapy, talk therapy, whatever, but I don't really like play therapy because it's not straightforward.
Yeah. And
I think even at work, like my boss has told me before, like the one thing different is that I'm very straightforward with the kids, which is why like a certain type of kid gravitates towards me.
Yeah.
And then the other types of kids gravitate towards like my other coworkers that are very like praising and like I don't know.
Yeah, I mean it goes in line with your character of like you're very serious and you're kind of like you don't like to play games, you don't like BS, you don't like drama.
Yeah.
And like I feel like the kids that really not that the other kids don't need help, but in my mind and my perception of it, it's like the kids that are like hurt the most and really need the help are the ones that are also like no BS, no drama, because those are the kids that like grew up in a space that didn't have that. They grew up around people that like grown-ups and people that were like basically like super serious in their life, and then that's how they become super serious. So then they're drawn to you because you're also super serious. Not to say that you don't enjoy the time with the kids and you don't laugh and stuff like that, because that's totally different, but yeah, I think it's very in line with you. And it kind of like fits your niche in that sense, like your purpose, Yeah. So
I think that covers how I got it. That was
how you got into Psyche.
Yeah.
Let's see. So you followed it in college and stuff, and I think it's pretty interesting too how you're saying that you really found out your path from college again, because I don't know, maybe I really have this like different view of college. I have a qualm with college because it's really a personal thing that I didn't get as much value as I wish I did. So the way I see other people is like, oh, I'm surprised that you got something out of college because I didn't. But that's just a really personal thing. So okay, so we see the background of like why you got interested in psych. So through college, and then what? So you graduated college, and then how did you get from graduation to your job now?
Okay. Well, I graduated a semester early, which honestly might have, I don't know. I guess it wasn't necessary, but whatever. I finished college, I moved home, and that's when I was kind of on the fence of like, what
Where
am
is
I?
home?
Oh.
Yeah. For those of the people that don't know, I feel like most people that would listen to this podcast right now, this episode would know.
That's true.
But I guess for entertainment purposes.
Sure. Okay, so well, I went to college. I'm originally from Hawaii. I went to college in Azusa, California, which is where we met, and then after college, I moved back home to Hawaii for like 9 months or so, and probably after like 3 months of living at home, I was like, I don't know. To my knowledge, it's hard to get an entry-level job in the psychology field in Hawaii because it's such a small, like, I guess, market right now versus like California. Like, mental health is super important. Like, it's, and I mean, that's why you laugh.
No, just not because I was laughing because you're saying that there's not a big market in Hawaii, and then you're like, compared to California, everyone there has mental health. Everyone there is crazy and needs help. But like, honestly, I don't disagree with you because I feel like the culture in California compared to the culture in Hawaii leads to the path of like growing more mental health. You know, disorders, not only because of the life we live, like it's so fast paced and it's so like, oh, your life is your job and you need to hustle and stuff like that, and the absence of that brings you to that place of like, oh, mental health and depression and whatever. Not only because of that, but because of the fact that California, it's kind of like a vicious cycle of like California, the life you live focuses or like leads you to a place to have kind of bad mental health, like can lead you to a place to have bad mental health. And it's become very apparent. So now we focus a lot on mental health. And since the topic of mental health is so common, a lot of people self-diagnose themselves like, oh, I have depression, I have like this, I have that, I have this mental disorder, that mental disorder, just because they're so aware of it. And then it's at that vicious cycle, like, oh, I have it, you know, so I need to get treated. And then people are like, oh my gosh, people need to get treated, so we should talk about it more. And so that's why I agree that the market here for people with mental health is a lot bigger, as opposed to like Hawaii. Everybody there is kind of like, you know, everybody knows that a lot slower living. People are, I'm not crapping on California people because I'm born and raised California, like I love California. It's sometimes like it's hard to see myself not living here, so I love it, but like, I feel like people can appreciate the little things more over there and stuff like that, the little joys and wonders of life.
It's also like a slower pace of life, and I think like with everything in Hawaii, it's like delayed. Like, what did we just get? We just got Raising Cane's like a year or two ago. Like, just like in the general scheme of things, like things happen slower and later in Hawaii. So like, I'm sure give it a few years or so, like there'll be a lot more mental health whatever is like set up out there. But like for right now, it's still like a growing business or whatever, like growing aspect, whatever. And then that was also like when we were on the fence of like, oh, are we gonna do long distance for the rest of our lives? Like, for those that don't know, like when COVID hit, we were both in college, and then COVID hit, so we had to go home, and we were long distance for like 16 months. Like, I don't know, that seems,
I don't know, I'm very bad with dates.
Yeah,
but that seems about right. It was
a year.
I mean, definitely more than a year, because COVID lasted more than a year, and no way that we saw each other during like the height of COVID. So it was for sure over a year.
Yeah, let's just say 16 months.
It was for sure over a year that we did long distance. But also, since we met in college, we had little pockets of long distance. So every time, you know, the semester or the year would end, you would go home, I would go home, and then we'd be long distance for like 4 months.
Yeah.
And then we'd come back, and long distance 4 months, and then COVID, and then long distance for like, you know. So we were we had experienced what it was like to be long distance, and then that was like, okay, so are we just gonna keep doing this?
Yeah.
forever?
Yeah. So that's why I was kind of on the fence of like, you know what? Maybe I can just move to California, get like a job that I, is actually relevant to what I went to school for. No offense.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I have my own path, man. I have my own path, and I think it's working out.
But yeah, I don't know. I just started applying for jobs out here. God opened the door. Irene's apartment opened up, and everything kind of worked out. Like, I had a room open for me. The jobs that I was applying for, like, my number one pick was the first to reach out for me for an interview, and then they, like, hired me on the spot. Like, they negotiated my pay, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I remember that. It was just like a domino effect of like everything that you were worried about was getting like answered.
Yeah.
Like the pay, you were worried about the pay. I remember like it was low when they offered you the job, and then they bumped it up right into the range that was that worked for you. And then I think it was so when you started, you were also on call. You were also on call. And I think that was also beneficial too, because that was right in the time when you were moving here.
Yeah.
So I think it was a perfect way to kind of ease you in to like working, as opposed to like, hey, moving here and then being full time. I think it would have been like, it would have felt like life just kind of like smacked you in the face if like you moved to a whole different state, you had a whole different full time job with like like everything would have been at once. And I think that was one thing that kind of helped the process go a little bit smoother.
Yeah. It did really help, like, ease me into, also, like, just that job, because I've never worked in that environment before, like, a residential treatment center. Like, even the internship I did in high school was not exactly, like, therapy and counseling. Like, they called it mentorship, because there was no actual, like, certification to work there, like, be an intern there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that worked out really well.
Yeah. Okay, so along the journey of Daphne, so college, moving to California, getting the job, you have the job. So how about this? My next question is like, it's kind of a little bit, I don't know if it would be lighthearted, I guess, but more so like, what, I don't know, this might get into like some, can't really talk about it things, but I guess like, what is the best and worst thing that you've experienced at that job so far? So I guess like a fulfilling moment that you've had that like kind of reminded you of like, oh, I really enjoy doing this, and I can really like, I really see myself doing this. And also like a moment that you've had where it's like, I don't know if I can do this. Yeah. Okay,
let me just tiptoe my way around this for confidentiality purposes. But,
Yes.
What did you say? Best and worst? Moments?
Yeah. Something along the lines of that.
Okay. I guess worst first.
Actually, just to get kind of like a broad scope, like really, really quickly run through like what a day looks like for you.
Oh,
of course, you know how like you have a set schedule, so you don't have to go down every single thing, but generally, what does it look like when you go into work for a day?
Well, I usually work PM shifts, which a coworker has before told me that it's the worst shift to work, because something clicks after like 4 or 5 o'clock, man. Like something clicks.
They get the kids get the zoomies.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
So I mean, day to day, we have some therapy groups. Like, for example, some of the groups we have is like dialectical. I always just say DBT, but I'm trying to break it down. Dialectical behavioral therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy. We have like documentary group, commitment group, etc.
Yeah, basically, from the time that the kids wake up, which is what, like 7 a.m. No.
7:38ish.
7:38ish to the time they go to sleep, which is what time that they're in bed, like
supposed to be 10.
Supposed to be 10, and then whatever. So from 7:30, let's just say 8 o'clock to 10 p.m. Basically, their whole schedule is set out for them. Like they have something to do at this hour, this hour, this hour, this hour, and everything is very, everything is very. When I heard about it, I kind of like assimilated it with like almost like prison. I know it's not prison, but it's like you.
They're on a set schedule. It's organized.
It's organized, but it's also like they don't really get free will to do what they want to do on a day-to-day basis because they they wake up. It's like, hey, from this time to this time, you have to get ready, and by this time, you have to be done getting ready because then we have this right after, and then you have to do your school, whatever, blah blah. From this time to this time, you get to eat. You know what I mean? So other like yes, of course, obviously they have free will within those moments of like what they do, but also their whole schedule. The reason why I brought that up of it being so strict is because what is the purpose in that? Like if you're there to help the kids get better or whatever you would call it, if you're there to help the kids, why make it so strict and why make it so like
I mean, well, think about it like school schedule.
Yeah.
Like you have your classes, you have like lunch period, you have homeroom, recess, whatever you want to call it. Like it's almost like that. Like it's kind of set out for you. Like it's from the time they wake up and go to sleep, but like I mean also because the groups that we run are like insurance mandated, so we have to make sure that we have all of those groups in their schedule because if insurance is paying for it, they want to make sure that they're paying for something. And then like school period and stuff, like it kind of is free will. Like there's rec time, school time.
I think saying it's not free will was a little.
Saying it's prison.
It's kind of a reach. It is a little of a reach because then, I don't want to make it sound like the kids are like robot zombies, whatever. Of course, they're still kids. Yeah. But anyways, I just wanted to get a picture of like how the day works and stuff, so that when you go into this next thing of like telling like the good and the bad, there's a little bit more context. So yes, what is like probably one of the best moments that you've had? 3-part: best moment, worst moment, and craziest moment. I don't know if craziest moment could be the same as worst, but like, just an interesting story.
I mean, let me start with worst. I guess this isn't necessarily like one patient did this specifically, but like for me, worst moment was probably recently, and it was just like burnout. Like, I mean, day to day, like part of my job is taking notes, like observational notes on what their behavior is like, what they're doing, and then like group notes, like what they discuss, what they talk about. So like all day, every day, I'm working on notes of some kind, like whether it's specifically for the patient or for the group. And then that's usually what keeps me late at work, is like I'm just catching up on my notes because I'm trying to keep that balance of like interacting with the kids, so it doesn't just seem like I'm a robot to them. Like I'm just always on my computer writing down everything they say or do, and like still trying to interact with them and like make them feel human and make sure that they don't just feel like they're in this like prison. But probably just burnout, like working a lot. And I think when kids really start to trust you, which only started happening recently since I did start working full time, and I'm there 5 days a week, and they see me like 5 nights out of the week. Just like the constant like checking in and venting to me, or like almost like trauma dumping on me. Like I can take it to a certain extent for some reason, like hearing about like various traumas and stuff. Like, not that I've been desensitized to it, but I definitely have a higher, I guess, window of tolerance for that, of like being able to take it and not necessarily take it home with me, or not necessarily like let it affect my day-to-day mood.
Mm-hmm.
But it does add up after a while. Like, it does kind of just pile on after a while, and if I don't have, like, an outlet of my own and I'm not prioritizing my own self-care on my time off, like, it does burn me out pretty quickly. I guess that would be worst moment. And I guess another worst moment was, like, when one of the kiddos was kind of, how do I say this? Just like, just dysregulated. Like, his mood was very dysregulated, and just, you know, punching things, punching walls, punching his mattress, and that kind of spurred, like, a panic attack in me for some reason. I don't have a history of, like, physical aggression around me at home or anything like that. Like, thank you, parents. But it just, I don't know, maybe because it was so new to me and I couldn't de-escalate the situation. Like, it kind of just spurred a panic attack in me, and I, like, kind of broke down at work a little bit. That was tough. That was probably the worst moment, I guess. Craziest moment, I'm saving best moment for last.
That's probably best. That's probably best. We don't want to leave at the worst note or anything like that.
Craziest moment, I think, how do I say it without saying it? Basically, we take the kids on outings every Saturday.
Outdoors time. Rec time.
No. No, like, we take them out. Like, there used to be this playground at the beach that they really liked going to. Without saying it straight up, basically one of the kids kind of ventured from the group and did a little illegal activity. Just very impulsively.
That seems a little too open-ended.
Oh. Substances.
Yes.
Okay. Illegal activity, including
illegal substances. I guess the substance itself wouldn't be illegal. But
yeah.
Is it?
For a teenager?
Oh, for a teenager. Yeah.
Okay, so that happened. Just impulsively went off from the group, told me they were going to the bathroom, did not go to the bathroom. Actually, they did end up going to the bathroom after the fact. Yeah, just right in front of my eyes, and I was like, okay, like, I wasn't expecting that. Really, and I think that was at the end of a pretty tough week of, like, that was probably the same week of my panic attack.
Oh.
At work. So
was
it was
it
just,
before or was it after?
It was after.
So that happened after.
Yeah, so, like, panic attack night, dysregulated night was probably like it was a Monday night, and then something happened Thursday night, I forget, and then this story happened on Saturday. So it really was like the icing on the cake of, like, wow, what am I doing? It was almost like what am I doing wrong? Like, why does this keep happening on my shifts? Like, it was just thing after thing, and it was just one of those weeks that it was like, I really needed to tell myself, like, I'm not doing anything wrong, because at the end of the day, it's their choices. It's, you know, they're going to make choices like that and act how they want to act, and I can just do my best to de-escalate, but it's not always going to work. And I also wasn't prioritizing my self-care at all that week. Like,
you were just working.
I was just working. Like, I would wake up probably at, like, 10, 11 in the morning, probably eat something, and then probably just stay in bed, and then get ready for work and go to work, and then work till, like, 12 o'clock in the morning, and then go home, eat, sleep, and then repeat. Like, it was just a constant, like, vicious cycle. There wasn't anything, like, breaking the habit of just, like, that really boring cycle. And then when things like that would happen at work, like, I don't know, I was just lost in the moment, I guess. Yeah, that was probably craziest. That was probably craziest, because I was just like, what the the heck, man? Like, that was the first time I've ever seen that, really. That was, yeah, whatever. And then, best moment, I guess it's, like, a combination of things, just from different patients, like, personal letters, or, like, they really love making bracelets. It's very, like, therapeutic for them, I don't know. So, like, when patients make me bracelets, like, on my keychain, or on my lanyard, like, I have my ID, and then on my lanyard is, like, a little beaded bracelet that has my name on it that a patient made for me, and, like, a little name tag that a patient drew for me, and, like, a sticker that a patient saw and thought of me, like, just small stuff like that of, like, I actually am doing something right, like, I am, you know, reaching these kids in some way or another, like, being some type of support for these kids one way or another. I think the best one was, like, when a therapist called me in to one of the patient sessions because she had something, like, really sensitive and uncomfortable to talk about, and she felt more comfortable with me being in the room, and I was like, wow, like, for her to say that to her therapist, who really dives into the deepest, darkest traumas, but
and she wanted you to be a part of that.
Yeah, like, she needed me there as, like, a support for her. Like, that was a big thing for me. I was like, damn. Like, I think it kind of hit me after the fact, but I was like, that actually means a lot. Like, it actually does show that I'm reaching that patient specifically and just, like, generally doing okay at my job.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that was the best one.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about any AWOL moments?
I don't know. It's just funny. Like, to some people it's not funny, but after the fact, like, in hindsight, it's just like, man, what a crazy day it was. Like, I think when, I've only had one AWOL, actually, that I've been on shift for. Like, there's been a few patients in the past. Like, I think one patient AWOL twice. I wasn't there for either of them.
So what does that look like when that happens?
Oh, so AWOL stands for absent without leave, which basically means they leave our facility without permission. More often than not, just trying to run away for whatever reason. Like, they just want to get out of here or whatever. So one time I was sitting down and I was about ready to start leading a group, and one of the patients had their hood on really, really big, and they were just sitting there like that, and I knew they were having a bad day, and they were on a one-to-one, so I had to be within arm's length of them the entire time.
What does one-to-one mean?
One-to-one is basically their high suicide risk, so they need someone to be within arm's length of them, like, all day, and then at night someone needs to sit in their doorway to, like, make sure they're not doing anything. Like, basically they just need to be one staff to that one patient for safety concerns.
Yeah, as opposed to, like, you just keeping an overall eye over everybody. Like, your focus is now that one specific kid entirely. Yeah. You don't get to do anything else.
Yeah.
So what if they wanted to go to the bathroom? Like, what if they, hey, I gotta go to the bathroom?
They gotta leave the door cracked open. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
okay, so you're on a one-to-one with
I'm on a one-to-one.
PT patient.
And they were just sitting there, arms crossed, hood on. I know they had, like, a pretty tough conversation with their mom, like, a little bit before. And then next thing you know, they're just bolting out the door. It just caught me off guard. I think, one thing I've learned while working there, that's not a good character trait of mine, but it's because I notice that I relate to patients and that I deflect with humor, which is why I'm laughing so much right now. Because it's just, like, it was very stressful and my heart was beating, like, really fast in the moment. But, like, in hindsight, I can't help but laugh because it was just like, man, what the heck? Like, I don't know. Anyways.
Like, it's just crazy that something like that happened.
Yeah. So basically, they just bolted out the door, and my coworker like jumped up immediately and followed, and I had to like watch the rest of the kids. But
So I guess I'll just say it. Because you told me before that when a patient AWOLs, of course you gotta go after them, but you guys have a rule that you can't run after them.
oh yeah. So we can walk briskly behind them.
Speed. So you're just like
Speed walking
after a running kid.
Yeah. If they're running and I really can't keep up, then like I need to just call 911 or something. But we can't run after them because the story that I was told, I'm not sure if, I don't know, this is a reason why the rule's in place or what, but the story that I was told is that a girl, this wasn't when I was working there, but a girl like AWOL, and then a big man that was working there ran after her, and neighbors saw and called the cops because he thought that she was
that he was
like
he was
kidnapping her or like something. Yeah, it was bad.
That's not funny, sorry.
It was bad.
Deflecting with humor.
Yeah, basically, we can't run after them.
Yeah, so you just have to speed walk after the kid, and if
We just have to speed
they
walk.
don't stop running, then they keep running.
Yeah. Yeah. We can only do so much.
Yeah, that's nice. So, obviously, I think this goes without saying, your good moments outweigh the bad, right? Or no, not obviously.
Choking on my coffee. Cut this out.
Why?
Sorry. Anyways, what?
I said obviously the good outweighs the bad.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
If I mean, I went into this job knowing that the bad would be really bad. I think the good is what's catching me off guard, and it's what's really keeping me there.
Yeah.
Like,
the good is better than what you thought.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
would you say that the bad is also worse than what you thought?
no. I mean, when I hear stories when they're first admitted, I'm like, oh gosh. Like, it still kind of does shock me what some of these kids have been through. But when you really get to know them, like, you really need to change your mind and not think of them as just a patient. Like, and
I think, sorry, to cut you off. I think it's interesting that you say that you have to think of them as more than just a patient.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you also have to find that balance. And I think it's very similar to people who work in the medical field and stuff, like where you have to find a balance of like humanizing the person enough to where you're not a robot and they're just not like your job description, like, hey, I just gotta work on this person. Humanizing them enough to like connect with them, but not humanizing them too much to the point where like you get too invested because you know, because I think your I guess program, you would call it, like they're only there for a certain amount of time, so eventually, you know, they leave. But not only do they eventually leave, but also during that time, if you get too close and you get too connected with them, it hinders your ability to be effective at your job.
Yeah.
And I think it's very similar to people in the medical field. So that's what I'm saying. It's interesting that you say that you need to think of them more, but you have to find that middle ground, you know?
Yeah. What were we talking about?
We were talking about the good and the bad, and I said that the good outweighs the bad.
Oh, yeah. Because I feel like when I tell people about my job, just like the general, like what I do, what some of these kids are there for, I think they're more so shocked that I'm working in a place like that. And
would you say that they're shocked because of your personality or because of just the job itself?
Just because of the job itself. Like, it's a very intense job when you really think about it, just surface level. Like, most of these kids have attempted suicide and have attempted, like...
I couldn't deal with that.
Yeah, like, it's very heavy and it's very scary because while they're in our care, they're in our care. And, like, you know, they've had these urges before, they've acted on those urges, and who's to say that they're not gonna act on it while they're with us, and that's just a really scary thought. But on the day-to-day, like, really getting to know their personalities and really know what they've been through, like, it really helps connect with them, of course, at an appropriate level of, like, not getting too connected, but, like, just seeing them as more than just what they've done.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that's something that we try to teach a lot. Like, you're not your emotions. Like, you can feel your emotions. You've acted on that before, but that doesn't define who you are. Yeah, because a lot of these kids carry that with them of, like, you know, I did this, and, like, that's affected the people around me, and, like, now I have to live with this. Like, to a certain extent, yes, like, consequences happen, but
you shouldn't internalize it too much to where it affects your future. And who you can become and who, you know.
Yeah, like, you shouldn't have to carry that burden with you for the rest of your life.
Yeah, and I think that's super applicable just to the normal person, you know, that I feel like we tend to internalize a lot of our mistakes to the point where we apply identity to it, you know, like, I am this because I did this.
Yeah.
But we don't give ourselves the grace and ability to learn and grow from that and be like, yeah, I did this, and yeah, it sucked, and you know, there are consequences for my actions, but also, like, I'm not that person, you know. And even, like, because I'm talking about more an event, right? Like an event that happened that you caused, you know, that may affect your future and all that kind of stuff. But also even like that, like you said, you're not your emotions, because I was thinking, like, you're not your mistakes, right? A lot of people focus on your mistakes, you know, you're not your mistakes, but also, yeah, you're not your emotions, because your emotions change all the time. And to for me personally, like, to apply myself to it, like, I've always, one of the biggest flaws that I see in myself is that I have a tendency to be an angry person. And I know a lot of people might not peg me as that, but like, it can come out, you know, like, I wear my heart on my sleeve, and sometimes my anger gets the best of me in ways that I don't like. So I've always kind of like, oh yeah, like that, you know, I'm that kind of person, you know. But I think, again, like, we're not our emotions. So yes, that is something that I've done in the past, and yes, I've let my emotions and my anger get the better of me in the past, but I'm not an angry person. You know what I mean? And I don't want to be an angry person, so we should allow ourselves the grace and ability to grow from that and learn from that. Yeah. So I think it's really good that you're helping kids, especially, like, kids that are in that kind of state, because it's so much more, what's the word, like, concentrated, like, their emotions. I feel like,
I think, like, one of the things I've tried to teach in a group before is, like, making sure that you include the word feeling. Like, when you're saying, oh, I'm feeling depressed, and of course, like, people are diagnosed with, like, major depressive disorder, like, that, yes, that's a diagnosis, that is something that you have, and you are, like, medically depressed. But, like, when you're feeling depressed or anxious or something, like, it's really easy to just be like, oh, I'm anxious, like, I'm so anxious right now. And then that, leaving out the word, like, feeling, like, I'm feeling anxious, takes out, I guess, like, the time or place of it. Like, when you're just saying, oh, I'm anxious, like,
it applies identity. I am anxious.
Versus, like, I'm feeling anxious, like, it opens it to possibly passing.
It's just an emotion. You know what I mean? Emotions come and go, just as if one day you're happy and one day you're sad, you know, or one day you're feeling happy or feeling sad. And that's actually crazy that you talk about that, because I think I just was listening to a podcast where somebody said the same thing, but instead of adding the word feeling, you add the word now at the end of it. And I guess you can combine both of them. So it's like, instead of saying I'm anxious, you can say I'm anxious right now. Like, I'm anxious now, or like, I'm feeling anxious now in this moment. That's the reality. And it was a podcast on the Tim Ferriss Show, for those of you that may be interested. Tim Ferriss Show with Derek Sivers, which was a crazy podcast. Derek Sivers, I basically found out about him through the podcast, and he's just such an insightful person. But anyways, he was basically talking about his kid and how he used that with his kid, and his kid was like, oh, I think Derek Sivers was saying, like, he hates olives, so his kid was following him. He's like, I hate olives, but he told him, like, no, like you say now at the end, like, I hate olives now, because that can change, and just say, like, in such a small scale of, like, your preferences, and also to like your emotions and your identity, like, that is very important to realize that everything changes, you know.
It will pass.
Yeah, it'll pass. And well, not to say that it'll pass, because sometimes it's good things that you want to stay for a long time.
Oh yeah.
So for example, to say like I'm happy now, you know, like that shows that right now you are happy. You might not be happy later, but right now you're happy. So how do you continue to be happy? You know, like to realize that this is your reality right now, and you have a choice whether or not you can continue that or change that. And they were also applying it to, like, again, like I said, identity, for example, to say like I'm an athlete, or like I'm a football player. I played football in high school, but I can't continue to say that I'm a football player forever, because when was the last time I actually competitively played football? You know, so to say that you are XYZ, you either need to continue to follow through with it or to let it go. So yeah, it's very important that we realize that about the identity that we apply to ourselves. Like I am, you know, I'm a college student, or I'm a cook, or you know, I'm a XYZ. To be able to say that about yourself, like, you need to earn it. You need to continue to earn it every day. You need to continue to show proof that you are XYZ. And that goes the same for good traits. Like if I'm, you know, loyal, if I'm humble, like I can't just say, oh, I was humble last week, and continue to say that I'm humble because I've been humble. You have to be humble every day to say that you're humble. Yeah. So, yeah, it's a really good lesson to teach people with mental health too. Like, you're not, like, depression doesn't consume you. You're depressed right now, yes. Yeah. But it's up to you whether or not you are continuing. Okay, and I again, not to say like, oh, you choose to be depressed and it's up to you. Yeah. But also there is a level of power that you have to overcome that, you know? Like a depression, yes, is really strong. Mental health and mental disorders is really powerful, and sometimes it feels like it consumes you. But you do have a responsibility, and you do have strength, and you have power to overcome that. You know, like, don't let that control your life.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things we try to, like, teach them too, of like it will pass. Like when the kids are super, like, dysregulated or whatever, like, they're very stuck. And I'm saying the kids because whatever, but this goes for everyone. Like, when you're, and I've experienced it too, like, you've seen it, like, when I get in that mindset of either I'm feeling depressed, or I'm feeling anxious, or like I'm feeling like I hate myself, like whatever, like, you get stuck and you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. Like, you just think you're stuck in this moment and there's no possibility for change. There's no possibility for moving on from it. And, like,
it becomes your reality.
It becomes your reality, and you get stuck in it, and then you really don't think that there's the possibility of it passing. Because, I mean, you've felt it how many times before, and then when it does finally pass, like, you don't really care to remember it, you know, or like care to go back and think like, oh, you know, it actually did pass that time. Like,
to learn from it.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes we get so consumed in having, so distracted in, like, trying to solve our problems and get past our problems, that we don't understand them as points that we can grow and learn from. You know. Yeah. So, how has your interest in psychology and all the stuff that you've been learning and gone through in your new job, like, how has that, if it has at all, changed the way that you perceive people or interact with people? And the frog in your
I don't want to say that I'm like, okay, for example, my sorry, Mom. My mom had COVID again recently, like a week or two ago, and she had my stepdad take her to the ER because she just felt like her heart was racing. Like, she said she thought she was having like a stroke or something.
Yikes.
And she was like explaining the symptoms to me, and I want to assume it's because of my job, and that like I'm more aware of what certain feelings do, like physically, like physical sensations and emotions, like and how that's linked. And she was like explaining it to me, and she was like, oh, my vitals were all good, like they didn't really find anything. She was like, it might have been like a medication thing, but whatever. And I told her, I was like, I think you just had a panic attack. Like all of those symptoms sound like it was just an anxiety or panic attack of some kind. Like I don't think there was anything physically, like it wasn't a heart attack, it wasn't a stroke, it wasn't anything like a seizure or whatever. Like I think people are just, sorry mom, not that you're unaware, just I think people overlook how much their mental health has on their physical wellness.
Not that they're, I guess in a sense, unaware, but I think a lot of people who haven't experienced a lot of mental health issues, I guess, around them are unaware of the different forms that they may come in and the way that they affect your life. Like, for example, I never had anxiety before. Like, I've never had anxiety before. Like, growing up, I've never been an anxious person, blah, 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 whatever. When I started working, man, this is weird because I'm getting like a weird influx of emotions. But when I started working at the job that I work in right now,
What is that job? What do you do?
Stupid. So I work as a line cook at a restaurant down in Hermosa Beach, and it was something I was really excited to do, and that I still am excited to do. Like I still have a passion for cooking, and something that I was really excited to work professionally. And going into this new restaurant, it was basically like I saw everything with like I don't know what the phrase, there's a phrase for that, but basically like when I went in and I started working, I was like, oh my gosh, all the people that I work with are like super good cooks, and I'm working under really good chefs, and it's such a professional kitchen, and we're using tweezers, and like everything is so fancy and so cool. And I just put so much importance on like what I was doing and stuff, and the kind of person I am, I like to be good at things. I like to be good at things, and I really don't like not being good at things. So when I got into this job, I never really felt stress the way that I experienced stress in the beginning of that job. Because one, again, like I said, I put a lot of pressure on myself, and there was a lot of outwards pressure. Because when I went into this job, we were just opening the restaurant. It was a brand new restaurant. I was opening it with them, and so there was a lot of pressure for everybody involved and stuff. So basically, long story short, I've never previously been an anxious person, and then experiencing the type of anxiety and anxiousness that I felt, it was so foreign to me. Because also a lot of the people that I hung out with never really experienced anxiety in that way. And
I'm sure they did, they just don't talk
maybe,
about it.
or maybe they even did talk about it, but since I never experienced it, I could never really relate and never really see it as like real. You know what I mean? Like it's like, oh, I'm anxious, I have anxiety. It's like, well, then don't worry about the thing. Like it's not that big a deal, you know? But like going back to what we were talking about, like I feel like if you've never experienced it and you've never really been around it, it's hard to identify. It's hard to identify it, and in turn, it's hard to solve it. So, basically, going back to what we were talking about, yes, I think you kind of have to be in a space to feel it and to experience it, to really know how to maneuver around it.
Yeah. I think to circle back to your question, like how it has me perceive the world around me or the people around me. I guess it's like I already saw myself as a pretty empathetic person. But I feel like if anything, this has made me even more empathetic. just like open to the fact that people have been through a lot more stuff than they show. Like people wear a lot thicker masks than you think.
Yeah.
And you really won't know until you get to know the person, and you really like kind of need to pry almost to really know what someone is going through and why they're acting the way they act.
Yeah.
Like people will not just snap at you just because a spur of the moment thing. Like that might be rooted in something as deep as like their mom never knowing how to react appropriately. Like always needing to snap if they were anxious, angry, whatever. Like
yeah,
there's always a reason to people's behavior, like nature versus nurture, whatever. Like I don't know. I guess being in the mental health field and like seeing more and more patients go through our system and like knowing what they've been through and where they think their character flaws are at, and then also like reading, like I'm reading that book about like 4 trauma stories or something like that.
Yeah.
Just like stuff like that. Like you really wouldn't know unless you really know a person.
Yeah.
And not to say you need to go out into the world and like know every little thing about everyone, but like even the people around you, like there is a lot more digging and a lot more, I guess, conversation to be had to really get to know a person.
Yeah.
Hence this podcast.
Yeah, exactly. That is the whole purpose of this this thing, you know, is to really just understand that everybody that you interact with is a lot deeper than you may seem. Even if you like, for example, I think that's why I think it's really nice to have you on the first episode of this podcast, because it's an example of like, yes, we talk about these stories all the time. Yes, I know what goes on at your work and how
not everything.
Not everything, obviously.
Not everything.
Yeah, not everything, obviously. But like, you know, there are some stories that are shared, and you know, I know a lot about you because we talk all the time and stuff like that. But there is a different, there's a different level when you really like search.
Yeah.
When you really search for the purpose of getting to know that person, because I will admit that I've always been an inquisitive person and a curious person and liked having conversations with people, again, thus this podcast, but a lot of it was because I'm an extroverted person, so I gain energy having conversations like this, like you know, not a lot of people can sit and have like a 3, 4, 5 hour conversation with somebody and not feel drained afterwards.
Yeah.
But me, I can walk away from that conversation like, oh my gosh, have a new like, you know, appreciation for life. Like, wow, blah blah blah. You know, I get energy from that kind of stuff. I totally forgot where I was going with this.
It's okay. I don't know either.
You don't know either. Okay. Well, anyways, I'm just saying that it's important to search for people. I was basically saying like I am blaming myself because a lot of the times that I've wanted conversations like this because I wanted to like, you know, because I felt like it benefited myself. But I've only recently have I really understood the importance of like understanding other people and how getting to know other people for who they are and what they're interested in and how they were raised and how, again, nature versus nurture affects the person that they are today. Like, it's been a new interest for me, and I want to encourage everybody to do the same, to, you know, take a second glance at the people that you interact with, and then also even like seeing people that you pass on the street, like, you know, you never know what they're going through, you never know. And going back to like what you're saying, like, you know, you may have a run-in with somebody and they treat you poorly or they're rude or whatever. And I'm not saying like, oh, be a floor mat and just let everybody walk over you.
Yeah.
You know, that's not what I'm saying. But I'm just saying, like, you know, I think everybody can afford to give a little bit more grace. You know, and have a little bit more understanding and appreciation.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess, I mean, do you have anything else that you want to talk about? I have one more question.
No. What's your question?
The last question. Well, do you have anything else that you wanted to talk about before we wrap it up? Is basically what I'm saying.
Oh.
No. All right. Well, the last question before we go, I think, I wanted to ask, like, what is one thing in your life, either like an experience or a book or a quote or whatever, what is one thing that has changed your life that you want to share with other people that can possibly change their life or change the way that they, again, interact with people or see people? Like, what is one thing? It could be a book, it could be a quote, it could be an experience that you had, it can be a song, whatever.
Let me pull up my
Yeah.
thing. I actually have a note on my phone under like my folder for work, because I do like my notes on my notes. Does that make sense?
You do your work notes on the notes app.
Yeah.
Is what you're saying.
Yeah. And I just jot down like quotes or whatever that I hear at work, because they go deep, man. I mean,
Well, like the
obviously.
kids?
No.
Oh.
Like especially, so one of the groups that we have is a AA meeting, but it's run by like alumni of our facility, and she has like guest speakers and stuff come and talk to the kids about like sobriety and all of that. And she'd be throwing out like really good quotes, man. Like,
It's the same person all the time?
running it,
Yeah.
facilitating it, yeah. Let me choose one. I guess this one is more like on brand for what we were talking about. And basically the quote is, life isn't happening to you, it's just happening.
So what do you mean?
Like, people with really deep-rooted traumas might get into that headspace of, man, all of this stuff just keeps happening to me. Like, why does it keep happening to me? Like, why do I keep getting, abused by this person, neglected by this person? Like, why is it happening to me? But the quote is basically saying, like, life isn't happening to you, it's just happening. You might be caught up in the mix, but it's not to say, like, that you deserve it. It's not to say that someone has it out for you. Like, it's just, it's happening, and you can't really stop it. Like, some things are kind of just inevitable for whatever reason, whatever you believe in, higher power, whatever, but you can't always stop what's going on around you. Like, life is just going to keep happening whether you like it or not. Change is going to happen. And it's up to you whether you want to let it become a burden for you, or learn how to, like, take it, learn from it, and strengthen yourself through it.
Yeah. So would you say that it's kind of like, well, how has that changed your life personally? Let's start with
Personally?
that. Yeah. Well, because that was a question. What has changed your life? Has this not changed your life?
No, it has. No.
I don't say change your life like some big epiphany, but
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Yeah, I guess change your life. Yeah, let's change your life.
I don't know, maybe this is just like me getting caught up in my work, but I feel like that's something that not only the patients I work with can take, but like everyone. Like,
yeah, of course.
Even with COVID and stuff, like, it was hard to not carry that burden of, like, my mental health is declining, mental, physical health is declining, like, I'm gaining weight, I'm whatever, but, like, I don't know, I feel like it's so easy, especially for myself, to put everything on me as my burden to deal with, but it's also, like, not every battle is mine to fight.
Yeah.
Like, not everything happening around me is for me to fix or for me to control, which is very hard because I personally love to be in control.
Yeah.
Like, I like to be the one, not that necessarily has, like, the last say, but, like,
you just don't want to feel that things are out of your control.
Yeah.
But I think there's a certain freedom to like be able to let go.
Yeah.
And like a certain like freedom to just say that like things are going on around me, and it's up to me whether or not I want to dabble in, or like focus on it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
I think I don't know, I don't think I personalize a lot of things. Like, not so much in the sense of, oh, it's happening to me. Like, even if I'm not necessarily personalizing it, I still take it as, oh, I need to fix that, or like, oh, I need to help that. You know.
So how do you think that? I mean, I guess you kind of talked about it, but I just want to make it clear. Like, how do you think that this quote can help people?
I just said it.
No, what I mean, like, yeah, no, I get that. Okay. No, I'm.
What are you looking for?
I'm not looking for anything. I'm just gonna be really honest.
You don't get it?
Not that I don't get it, because I get it. But for me, the quote is more. It's I don't know. No, for me, the quote is just like, oh, you don't have to care about everything. That's basically just the meat of the quote. That's basically just it. Like, you don't have to care about everything.
No, not that you don't have to care about everything, but not everything is for you to control. Not everything is for you to fix. Yeah. Like, obviously stuff that, what's it called? Stuff that does affect you, like trauma and stuff, that is a process of you, like, going through that and releasing that, whatever. But like, not everything that happens is because you deserve it, or because you, like, that's a burden for you to carry.
Yeah.
Like, there is a fine line of picking your battles, and like, I feel like I'm just going in circles.
No, it's okay. It's okay. No. I think the reason why I'm like digging deeper is because I am having difficulties applying it to my life. Mm-hmm. Not that it's not good, but for me, again, like I'm saying, I'm having a little difficulties with what's going on in my life right now to apply it to my life. But then again, going back to it, that's just me being selfish, and it's not about me. You know, that could be for somebody out there. So yeah, that I mean, it doesn't change the fact that it is a good quote, and maybe that might apply, you know, in my life later. But again, like I said, it's not for me.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm like looking it up now.
What? Looking
like the quote to try and see where it came from. Or
no, that's a good
whatever.
quote. That's a good quote.
No, because I was just reading. Just wait, just cut this out.
No.
Okay, ready? Okay, here's the deal, folks. Life isn't happening to you, it's just happening. How you react to it, how you deal with it, how you live and learn from it, all defines you. No? Okay.
No.
Okay, ready? If you continue to play victim to life's circumstances and blame everyone else for what you believe prevents you from achieving your goals, you'll never take the responsibility, and as a result take the actions necessary to be successful. If you see... Whoa, I can't read.
No, I get it. I get it. You don't have to prove it to me. I promise. You don't have to prove it to me. It's basically what we were talking about earlier. That you have the power to become, and I don't want it to sound corny, because this might get into like that corny self-help, self-motivation, speech type stuff. But it's true that you have the ability to create the kind of person that you want to be. And outside forces, life does not dictate who you become. You know? It's how you react to the experiences that are happening around you, not to you.
Yeah.
It's how you react to those things. I'm getting it. It makes sense. But anyways, it's how you react and respond to those things that makes you who you are.
Yeah.
And again, going full circle of like the purpose of this podcast and what you learned from your job, is that it's important to take a look at how you react to those things and the things that are happening, and important to look at those in other people to appreciate them for who they are, like different circumstances that happen in your life and how you reacted to those circumstances that make you the person that you are today, that lead you to make certain decisions that you make today. Because all of that, the decisions that you make today and the way that you act and the person that you are, was created by the person that you were in the past, and then the way that you reacted to those things in the past, you know. And in the flip side of that too, the person that you want to be in the future and the person that you're going to become in the future is being formed by the decisions that you make today, and how you react to circumstances that are happening to you today. So I think it's important to be cognizant of like the things that are happening around you and how you can change yourself for the future. Yeah. I think I'm smart enough to understand the quote now, guys.
Oh my God.
No, but anyways, again, anything else? Last kind of farewell words or whatever? Not really?
Really?
Not really. Okay. Well, I really enjoyed the first episode of this podcast. I think it was really fruitful. And although, like, I didn't know a lot of the stuff that we talked about, but there's also a lot of deeper stuff that we, I think, got into that, not saying that it would never come up.
Yeah.
But it was nice.
Yeah.
That they did come up today. And I think there were a lot of like little nuggets of wisdom and little nuggets.
You called it that.
That's a common phrase. Nuggets of wisdom. I don't know. But anyways, I really appreciated the conversation that we had today. And I think it's a perfect way to kick off the Uncommons podcast.
Can I get chicken nuggets after this?
I'm not hungry. Yeah, maybe chicken nuggets.
I don't want
Cane's,
chicken
Raising
nuggets.
Cane's. No, that's not chicken nuggets, but it's better. No, I don't know. Anyways, I don't know how to end this thing, but that's it for the first episode.
Like, comment, and subscribe if you...
Okay, no, not that. That's... Anyways, this is the end of the first episode of the Uncommons podcast. There will be many more, so stay tuned, and maybe you'll catch another person that you know or another person that you like and learn something new that you didn't before. Learn something from somebody that you don't know, that you do know. Learn more about the people. So that's it. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in, watching. If you are watching, yeah, catch me next time on Uncommons Podcast. Woo!
I really do want chicken.